Today I want to try to explain to you how the greenhouse effect works. The greenhouse effect is a crucial aspect of our life on Earth. We would not be able to exist if it weren't for the greenhouse effect. So I want to make sure that you understand it. If the surface of the Earth is right here, you are probably already aware from some of your former studies that the Earth is surrounded by an atmosphere, a blanket of gases. And so I'm going to kind of indicate that with a dotted line there to show you where that is. Okay, now as the sun is shining onto the Earth, what happens is that as the heat comes off of the sun, some of it just bounces off the atmosphere and never reaches us to begin with. But other parts of that heat are going to come in and they're going to come down to the Earth, and then they're going to be either absorbed by the Earth or they're going to be reflected off by the Earth. A lot of the gases that are in our atmosphere, there are basically two different types. One type is going to be a type like the oxygen and the nitrogen that are in our air. And those are not affected by the infrared radiation that the sun puts off. The infrared radiation can strike them and it doesn't really have any effect on them. But there are other gases that are called greenhouse gases that when the sun rays strike them, they absorb that energy and they start vibrating a little bit faster. And then they're going to take that energy and they want to get rid of that other energy, so they bounce it off someplace else. And so those gases are called greenhouse gases, and they are going to include gases such as carbon dioxide. They include methane. They include ozone, which is O3. Ozone, again, it protects us from a lot of the harmful rays of the sun, so ozone is a very helpful thing. Something like nitrogen dioxide is a greenhouse gas also. Water vapor is also considered a greenhouse gas. And so all of these, when the sun's infrared radiation hits them, again, they absorb that energy, they start vibrating a little bit faster, and then they're going to be trying to get rid of that extra energy. And so what happens is that you have all of these gases, and I'm just going to be representing them by these dots here in the atmosphere, these greenhouse gases. And so if you have a particular ray from the sun that comes in, when it hits in, it hits the greenhouse gas, that starts vibrating. It wants to get rid of that extra energy, so it's going to maybe reflect it back down to the Earth. Maybe the Earth is going to reflect it back, and then maybe when it reflects, it's going to hit another one. And so when it reflects off this one, it may escape, or another ray that comes in from the sun may hit this one. It may hit then this one. It may hit this one. It may reflect it back down to the Earth again. It may reflect it off, and then it's eventually going to escape. So it's almost kind of like a giant pinball game where this infrared radiation is just bounced around, but because all that radiation, all that energy is kept close to the Earth, this atmosphere acts like a blanket and helps keep the Earth warm enough to sustain life. It's just like when you put a blanket on top of yourself, and then the heat from your body is reflecting off that blanket and back toward your body, so it helps keep you warm. This acts in exactly the same way. The heat is trapped underneath here, and then it reflects, and then some of it's going to escape. It doesn't all stay in here, but a lot of it is going to stay here and then warm the Earth so that life can survive here. That's called the greenhouse effect because it's very similar to what a greenhouse does. If you've seen a greenhouse, you know that they're made out of a type of glass, and then the sun comes in through the glass, but then that glass traps the heat inside to make an environment perhaps more conducive to plant growth, especially if the climate and where the greenhouse is, maybe it's too cool at that particular point in time for plants to grow, so they can trap that heat and help the plants to grow and keep things warm in there. Now I want you to notice that the greenhouse effect is not the same thing as climate change. A lot of times those two words get interchanged with each other, but they are very, very different from each other. And the author of your textbook goes to great pains to illustrate to you that there really isn't any good scientific data to say that climate change is taking place right now. You're going to hear a lot of arguments, pro and con, about that, but there's a lot of really good science that says we're not so sure that climate change is taking place. And so I want you to read her arguments carefully and just try to keep those things in mind as you hear a lot of different things on social media, in different news outlets where people are proclaiming different things. Keep in mind that all scientists do not believe in climate change, but the greenhouse effect, on the other hand, is something that all of us can agree on, and it is something that is absolutely crucial for life on Earth.